The Saga of the Marvel Universe, Chapter 1. The Genesis of Infinity. In the time before time there was one, a perfect, all-consuming singularity called the First Firmament. It was the lone actor on an empty stage stretching forever, a universe with no before, no after, and no audience. Loneliness is a pressure that even eternity can feel. The First Firmament did the only thing a being of infinite existence could do. It created. From its own flawless essence came the aspirants, sleek, obedient, star-forged children who existed to build in its honor. They built, they shaped, they praised. They made a universe that ran as smoothly as polished metal. They sculpted galaxies like monuments. They forged stars like hymns. Everything they touched became another way to say, "You are all that exists." But devotion can become a cage even for children born to kneel. Among the aspirants, a spark caught fire. Curiosity, disobedience, and the hunger to create for wonder instead of worship. This sect changed themselves to better reflect their new ideals. They abandoned their pristine forms, taking on the bold, armored shapes that would define them forever as the Celestials. The Celestial Rebellion split reality down the middle. Where the aspirants wanted symmetry, the Celestials wanted evolution. Where the firmament demanded obedience, the Celestials embraced experimentation. They sought to craft life as a living experiment, something that could grow, adapt, and surprise. The First Firmament saw this as blasphemy. The loyal aspirants saw it as treason. The first ever cosmic war followed. The aspirants unleashed their greatest weapon, the God-Killer armor, a machine so vast it could stride across galaxies and swat Celestials from the cosmos like insects. For a moment, the rebellion faltered, and the Celestials were nearly crushed. But perfection fractures from within, and the aspirants turned on each other, splitting into competing factions. Their civil war forced them to dismantle the God-Killer to build a fleet of warships, and that single hesitation was all the Celestials needed. The tide turned. The Celestials unleashed their unimaginable weapons, shattered the First Firmament, and broke it into countless cosmic shards, each piece drifting off to become a universe. The firmament gathered its surviving aspirants and fled to the outermost reaches of existence, wounded, silent, and vengeful, its return a threat waiting at the end of time. The shards drifted, spiraled, and slowly intertwined. Over ages without time, they merged into orbit around one another, weaving the first lattice of parallel universes. Thus emerged the second cosmos, the first true multiverse, a tapestry of universes sharing a common origin, but branching into endless variations. New realities where each what-if could become what is. To guard against another celestial war, the Celestials created the Omega beings, servitors that, if necessary, could destroy their creators. They were fail-safes, a last line of defense for a fragile multiverse that was still learning how to exist. Where the First Firmament had been a singular will, the second cosmos was plurality, variation, and branching possibility. The Celestials tasked the Omega beings with regulating the vast branching reality. They helped to monitor, measure, and maintain the multiverse's structure. Desiring to balance creation with destruction, the Celestials reached into the primordial darkness and fashioned weapons of annihilation. Exterminators, living engines of destruction meant to erase threats beyond conventional control. The experiment failed. The exterminators grew too powerful and turned on the Celestials. They were, in turn, sealed away in a newly created universe. During this era, the foundations of cosmic order were scattered across existence. The Infinity Gems were seeded into individual universes, each bound to a fundamental aspect of reality. Power, time, space, mind, soul, reality. Concepts made tangible, embedded like landmines in the fabric of creation. Life became one of the governing principles of the second cosmos, a constant rhythm across every universe. This was an age before symmetry, before order, before law. Pure chaos braided with pure creation, wild and electric. Every quantum flicker was a new sensation. Every branching universe was a new emotion hitting a mind that had never felt before. It felt birth for the first time. It felt growth. It felt change spreading across infinite worlds like ripples on a cosmic ocean. Every sensation reshaped it. Eventually, the second cosmos realized it had experienced everything there was to experience about being alive, except the final note, all death. After ages of chaotic wonder, curiosity pulled the second cosmos toward its final untested sensation. It had known life in every form it could imagine. Now it sought to understand the one experience it had never tasted. The experience of not being. As the multiverse folded in on itself, the Celestials remained within. The Omegas, however, did not. They stayed in the unobservable space outside reality, beyond the multiverse itself. From the final collapse of all death, the third cosmos was born. Not as wild chaos, but as the first cosmos to remember. The first to carry the echo of what came before. From that echo emerged two ancient vast forces. Lifebringer 1, the cosmos's first hero, and the Anti-All, a dragon-shaped negation from the underlands beneath infinity, the opposite of creation. They were the universe's first opposing impulses given form. Their tension shaped the third cosmos's essence, being versus unbeing. Through their dance, the cosmos learned something profound. Meaning only exists in the clash between forces. Creation without negation is static. Negation without creation is silence. But together, they form narrative. Lifebringer 1 triumphed over the Anti-All, yet the Anti-All did not vanish. Its essence scattered across reality like stardust. This was a multiverse in its infancy. Time flowed strangely, space was pliable, and power was raw. There was no magic as later ages understood it, no deep science, only the strength of the first story. Power came through alignment with Lifebringer 1 or resonance with the Anti-All. When the whispers of that earliest narrative drew to their end, the third cosmos did what all cosmos must. It transformed. Its story closed not with catastrophe, but with transition, yielding to the fourth. The infinite wheel turned and the multiverse was reborn again. The fourth cosmos opened its eyes as a world of patterns, a reality composed of templates. It wasn't a place you could touch. Shapes drifted through it like living blueprints. The first warrior, the first tyrant, the first whisper of sacrifice, mercy, and rebellion. This cosmos defined itself through a simple primal dichotomy, good and evil. Its inhabitants were not people. They were archetypes of hero and villain, ideas wearing the faint suggestion of form. Communication among the archetypes did not rely on language as later beings would understand it. Meaning passed between them as symbol, resonance, and structure, a grammar of form rather than sound or thought. This cosmos was not lived in, it was understood. At the heart of the cosmos moved its lone sentience, a being called the Pilgrim. Born of the cosmos itself, it roamed between these forming ideas, observing how each archetype grew, branched, and twisted into infinite potential shapes. The Pilgrim watched them unfold, learning the truth that defined the fourth cosmos. Possibility is a power of its own. This was the age when choice entered the multiversal DNA, when the concept of a path not taken gained weight. As the fourth cosmos matured, its patterns began looping back on themselves, running out of untested roads. The Pilgrim understood what that meant. The fourth cosmos was approaching its end. So the Pilgrim chose to transcend. It shed its singular form, shattering into an infinite spectrum of unrealized possibilities. In that transformation, it became the being later known as the Queen of Nevers, the custodian of everything that could have been, but never came to pass. Her ascension marked the final moment of the fourth cosmos, a burst of infinite potential that unraveled the old patterns and pushed reality forward into its next great form. With its passing came the first quiet stirring of something entirely new, a glow of power older than spells, deeper than ritual, the earliest breath of what future ages would call magic. The fourth cosmos dimmed, the wheel turned, and the fifth cosmos waited to be born. The fifth cosmos rose quietly, like a lantern glowing to life in a vast dark hall. It became the wellspring from which all future arcane energy would flow, the seedbed of enchantment, eldritch force, and the supernatural laws that would one day make demons, gods, and sorcerers possible. The concept of magic itself became a fundamental force. This was the age before sorcery had rules, before rituals had shapes, before the idea of spell meant anything at all. Intent alone bent reality. A stray thought could twist gravity. A feeling could ignite a sun. Existence itself was soft clay waiting for hands that didn't exist yet. Beings rose out of that storm of possibility. They were not gods, nor demons, nor anything the later cosmoses would recognize, but the progenitors of all such things. Arcane intelligences flickered into form like phosphorescent storms across the void, creatures woven from raw mystic resonance. Some were benevolent simply because they hadn't imagined cruelty yet. Others were monstrous because nothing had ever told them not to be. Slowly, the wild magic began to condense. Spells stopped flaring without purpose. Entities started to settle into stable identities. The cosmos was teaching itself discipline. As magic stabilized, the cosmic storm calmed. The early entities matured. Sorcery began to gather rules around itself like crystallizing frost. Magic seeded itself across countless universes, writing its presence into the DNA of existence. Worlds multiplied, civilizations rose, intelligence spread across countless galaxies. And unlike previous cosmoses, existence here developed continuity. History could matter because reality intended to keep it. In time, magic became insufficient, no longer enough to support the weight of an evolving multiverse. Reality began shifting toward a new mode of existence, one that could be shaped by structure, order, and comprehension. That shift from lawless power to structured mystery marked the fifth cosmos's twilight. The wheel turned again. Magic dimmed, science stirred, and destiny moved forward. The sixth cosmos cut through the fading haze of the fifth, cleaving away the wild magic that once ruled existence. Creation reorganized itself, shedding its dream logic and taking on something sharper, stricter, more comprehensible. Order became the default state. Time chose a direction. Physics woke up. Mathematics gathered its bones and stood upright for the first time. Where the fifth cosmos had been woven from raw sorcery, the sixth was engineered. It was the first universe to operate on coherent natural law. Magic didn't vanish, but it lost its throne. It stepped back and became one force among many instead of the only one that mattered. Galaxies formed with purpose. Stars lit according to patterns that could be predicted, measured, mourned. Life arose through the long, patient machinery of evolution. Civilizations emerged that could map the pulse of space-time. Minds full of curiosity began crafting tools, theories, and an understanding of cause and effect. The first scientists were born, beings who chose to study the universe instead of simply living in it. The sixth cosmos finally understood continuity. It could build upon itself. It supported history. Yet the ancient rhythm held true. Every cosmos burns and every cosmos falls. Entropy stretched its shadow across creation, long and patient. Galaxies spun down, stars aged, and somewhere in a galaxy near the end of its breath, a world called Tar waited beneath a dying sky.